Yet another meeting underway right now at the White House as both sides continue to bicker over how best to cut the deficit and raise the government's borrowing limit, whether we should even. Republicans continuing to say they will not budge on Democratic demands to raise taxes. But David Callahan says they better budge right now. The senior fellow at the policy group Demos joins me now in the Asman Exchange. Good to see you, David. Thanks for coming here. Aren't you glad you don't live in D.C., by the way?
I'm glad.
All this bicker. Anyway, jobs creation. That is something I think everybody agrees should be the most important thing in everybody's mind. Before you do anything, you think about how a policy move might affect job creation. Shouldn't we avoid doing anything that could hurt job creation, like raising taxes?
Or cutting spending, because when you cut spending, you also eliminate jobs. Almost 1 million jobs have been lost in America.
All right, we could talk about spending
because of
for
all
another
those
debate.
spending cuts by state and local
But what about taxes? Isn't it? I mean, if you could do anything to jeopardize job creation right now, like raising taxes, which would cut into people's profit margin, which means they wouldn't be able to hire people, should we be doing that now?
Well, I mean, I think that we should delay either tax cuts or spending cuts until the recovery is more fully underway. Both take money out of the economy, and it just doesn't make sense.
So you are against raising taxes right now?
I think delaying it for another year would make a lot of sense.
The question that I have for a lot of Democrats in D.C. is already the top 5% of the income brackets is paying 60% of the income that comes in income tax. How much more can you squeeze out of that top 5%?
Well, that's not true when you consider all those payroll taxes and when you consider sales taxes and other taxes that people
I'm talking income
pay.
tax.
In many cases,
income tax.
Our system has actually become less regressive since the 1950s. And right now, David, taxes are at their lowest rate in 50 years.
Not so corporate.
Yeah, we have the world's largest military. We have many popular programs that Americans like Medicare. Look, taxes have to come up. The question is, sooner or later. Obama is saying sooner. Let's rip that Band-Aid.
Corporate taxes need to be higher?
Well, the average corporation pays 15%.
Corporate tax rate, though. The corporate tax rate that we have now, I believe, is the second highest in the world. It's sending a lot of businesses overseas.
American corporations pay about 2% of, the U.S. economy percentage of corporate taxes as a percentage of GDP is about 2% in the U.S. compared to 3 or 4% in the European Union. So our taxes, corporate taxes, are actually lower here than they are abroad. Those top rates are misleading, so don't look too closely.
They are misleading, but I think we should bring down the rates and end a lot of the deductions. Now, I've got a confession to make, which is even though I work for a big corporation, I like small businesses a lot better than the big corporations. There are 27 million small businesses in the United States, only about 5,000 public corporations. Shouldn't we be focusing on what we can do to help the small business, which is really the engine of growth in this economy?
Oh, and we have to some degree. I mean, there was that tax credit given to small businesses.
But the tax credits aren't working. They're pipsqueak compared to the effect that you have of hiring a worker. Hiring a worker costs more than the worker's salary. It costs all of the benefits that you have to throw in, all of the training costs. It could cost about $60,000 a year for every new worker you hire, and these tax credits are chump change compared to that.
Well, the best thing that's going to help small businesses is to get this economy going again, and austerity is not the way you get the economy going again. It sucks money out of the economy. As I said, all those budget cuts at state and local level, they've been devastating to the small businesses.
So again, you would not be in favor of raising the tax rate on individuals because so many of those small businesses rate themselves as individuals. All their profit is taken on their individual income. You'd be against raising their tax rates right now.
Well, I think that we're going to have to repeal those Bush tax cuts. It's just a question of whether we do that sooner rather than later.
But if we do it now, it's those small subchapter S corporations that are going to be hit the hardest.
Well, look, those Bush tax cuts are scheduled to expire at the end of 2012. Alan Greenspan, among others, has suggested we should let those tax cuts expire, all of those tax cuts, in order to deal with our deficit and long-term debt problem. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Mr. Bubble, Alan Greenspan. I'm careful of what advice I take. Sometimes he's on, sometimes he's not.
And just to be clear, David,
raising taxes, I don't agree.
Many other Republicans also understand that taxes have got to go up. I see this as a fight between the grown-ups in the Republican Party and the youngsters.
You don't want to hurt job creation, though, and if you raise tax rates on individual subchapter S corporations, you're going to hurt job growth.
But you admit that taxes eventually have to come up,
No,
right?
of course I don't. I think the government has has enough money as it is. I think they need to cut expenses, not raise taxes.
David, taxes are at the level they were in 1950.
Corporate taxes are, we have the second highest corporate tax rate in the world. If we get rid of deductions, we can lower rates more and get more energy into the economy.
You have your facts wrong on corporate taxes.
No,
and
I don't.
No,
I don't at all. Check it out. Second highest corporate tax rate in the world right here in the United States. It's true that so many corporations get these deductions that they're able to avoid the top rate. I'm against that.
Those corporations live in loophole land, and many of them don't even pay taxes.
On that, we can agree, and we got to leave it at that. David Callahan, good to see you from Devos.
Good to be
Thank you
here.
very much tonight.